Hi, everybody. This is Dimitris Eleas from New York with my yellow pencil and my life experience, as I say. I would like to speak to you, to discuss with you about my 8-minute call with the New York Times that took place some time ago, some days ago, and why that call is important. That call took place after the publication of a column by the two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nicholas Kristof, and it brought a media storm from around the world. It became a media storm around the world. Also, is important why the freedom of the press is very important. And if you are an eyewitness somewhere, you need to speak out and you need to see what you see and you need to speak out the truth and you need to do it loudly. You need to speak out loudly. I have here also the New York Times, from which later on I will read my little letter that was published there. At the same time, regarding my 8-minute call with the Times and the editor, Sue Mermelstein, I wrote a small article that was published in City Watch LA in California. And from there, I want to read a few lines. So please stay with me. My 8-minute call with the New York Times after Kristof's column. The global media erupted on May 11, 2026, when the New York Times published a harrowing 3,700-word column by the two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nicholas D. Kristof. His piece detailed deeply disturbing testimonies of sexual violence and systemic abuse targeting Palestinian detainees inside the Israeli prison system. Within days, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Israeli Foreign Ministry slammed the piece as a modern day blood libel, threatening a defamation lawsuit against the paper. The pushback against Kristof has pulled in heavy hitters from politics, social media, and the wider media world. Many publicly challenged the validity of Kristof's sources, accusing him of leaning on activist Palestinian networks. Some critics even compared Kristof to the to Walter Duranty, the infamous 1930s New York Times reporter who used his Pulitzer credentials to obscure Stalin's atrocities. It was an article that was published in the forward regarding this comparison. Pro-Israel advocacy groups organized a protest outside the paper's Manhattan headquarters to denounce the column. Yet, the New York Times editorial board has stood fiercely behind Kristof's decades-long track record on the ground human rights reporting, completely rejecting all retraction demands. I mean, they wanted to the column to be removed from the site of the New York Times. Okay, it was at this high-stakes standoff that the NYT editor, the New York Times editor, Sue Mermelstein, reached out to me for an 8-minute phone conversation. She asked if I knew what had happened following the publication of the column and if I stood by the lines I submitted for publication. My response was unwavering, that I support the democratic Israel, the democratic ideals of Israel and the Jewish people, but the authoritarian shift under Netanyahu's current government cannot excuse human rights violations. And Sue Mermelstein listened to me with a lot of patience and attention. Ultimately, the battle extends far beyond a single op-ed. It is a fundamental, it is a foundational fight for the First Amendment. and the freedom of the press. When foreign powers weaponize the legal system to silence investigative journalism, the public must stand up. By selecting my voice out of the hundreds of submissions, the New York Times is ensuring that ethical public debate cannot be litigated into oblivion. Below is my text, which I worked on for over 10 hours and which was published in the New York Times as the lead letter. It, wa- it also used it also used the same photo as the one that accompanied Kristof's column. It was used the same photo in the letters that were published, eh, which included my letter, which was the lead letter, and also the original column by Kristof. It appeared online on May 18 and in print on page 823 on May 19, 2026. And here it would be an omission not to mention the thanks I owe to Sue Mermelstein. And I read now to you the lead letter that was published. To the editor, reference The Silence That Meets the Rape of Palestinians by Nicholas Kristof, column, NewYorkTimes.com, May 11. In print, it appeared inside the Sunday edition of May 17. I mean, the column of Kristof. Because the papers first publish an article or a column or a news article online, and after a few days they publish it in print. And the letter says, Mr. Kristof's reporting raises painful but necessary moral questions. The horrifying allegations from Palestinians, men, women, and even children, must be investigated seriously and independently. The allegations of beatings, humiliation, and sexual torture in prisons are deeply disturbing. Mr. Kristof writes that this is sexual violence in which the United States is complicit. One can support Israel, admire the resilience of the Jewish people, and still insist that no nation is above moral scrutiny. I walked through Auschwitz, Birkenau, years ago, and I stood before the remnants of humanity's darkest abyss. The Jewish people suffered beyond words, and that history must never be forgotten. Yet, precisely because of that history, the world hopes Israel will embody the highest standards of justice and human dignity. Fear and trauma shape nations. Israelis live with memories of persecution, and the horrors of October 7 deepened those fears. And the letter continues, the little letter in the New York Times continues. But terror and insecurity can never excuse cruelty. If even a fraction of these allegations are true, silence becomes complicity. Palestinians and Israelis alike deserve safety, dignity, and equal human rights. I will say this again because it's very important. Palestinians and Israelis alike deserve safety, dignity, and equal human rights. All people on this planet deserve the same human right, deserve equal human rights. Moral consistency is not betrayal, it is civilization itself. Dimitris Eleas, Brooklyn. So that's how the letter ended, as I said, and as I said, it was published as the lead letter. the little letter is the one in the New York Times that, in a way, gives the direction for the whole article. And I will show you here. I have here the New York Times from May 19, as you can see. And also, I will open it here for you. It's a big paper. I will open it here for you and I will show you. I will go to page A13 and I will show you the letters. And here, if you can see, here is if you can see here is my letter. This is my letter. Yeah, here, this is my letter. So why all these are important? Because freedom of the press is important. We need, especially people, journalists, need to speak out and need to speak loudly when they see human rights violations. And there are problems. As I said, I support Israel and the Jewish people. But this does not mean that Israel has the right to violate human rights. No one has this right on this planet. So I'm very thankful to Sue Mermelstein that called me back. I'm very thankful that she chose my letter to be published among hundreds of thousands of letters that were sent to the paper. And I think I consider this as a moment that, as a humble moment that in a way helps that why all of us we need to speak out and why human rights are important for the society we live in today and also for the future of the world society. Uh, I was honored and humble when I realized that Nicholas Kristof in his X account for the former Twitter shared a link with the letters to the editor, including my little letter. And of course, he has a big following, and I saw there 160,000 views that post took, and hundreds of messages and replies. And also, I'm very thankful to the editors of the New York Times that made a post on the New York Times opinion section on Facebook page, and they also mentioned my name by saying a few words that I say, and I think if I remember well, they mentioned that why what I read twice before a while ago, why equal human rights are important for all people on this planet. So Israelis and Palestinians deserve the equal human rights. So I make this small video because it was an important moment for me, but uh, I think Nicholas Kristof is a great journalist and deserves our respect. And I think also for people that are on the same boat and they try to be open-minded and speak out loudly, uh, Nicholas Kristof is a great example. So uh, I, I, I want to show and I want to express my gratitude to Nicholas Kristof and also to the New York Times, that is a very important newspaper that published my humble letter. So this is what I have to say to you. I mean, uh, it's very important when you are an eyewitness to speak out. I mean, what you see with your eyes, because we live in a world that billionaires and super rich people, what they try to do, they try to buy journalists, they try to buy media. So in a way, uh, freedom of speech and freedom of the press comes to a second, third place. No, it's very important. It's very important people to speak out. It's very important that newspapers like the New York Times lead the way on it. So, this is Dimitris Eleas from New York with my yellow pencil, as I say. If you can and if you want, please uh, subscribe to the channel, and you can write a comment, or you can press the like button there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And also, if you want, you can Google my name, Dimitris Eleas, New York Times letters, uh, or and you can read the letter, and also you can read again if you want the column by Kristof. That column by Kristof will stay in history uh, because it's brave, because it says things, and it took, I suppose, many weeks to write that column and to interview people. So anyway, thank you again. See you again.